Now we are on to listening section of test 2. We are beginning test 2 and there will be few sections. The first section would be from 1 to 10, answering question 1 to 10. And for that you will have to listen to a tape script and on the basis of that tape script you are going to answer these queries. So let me speak it for you or imitate it for you. Two people are talking, Jody or you can say Judy and Michael. So Judy. Good morning. Total Insurance, Judy speaking. How may I help you? I recently shipped my belongings from overseas back here to Australia, and I took out insurance with your company. Some items are damaged during the move, so I need to make a claim. What do I have to do? Okay, well, first I need to get a few detail about this. Can you give me your name, please? Yes, it's Michael Alexander. Okay, and your address, please? My old address or my current one? Your current one. It's 24 Manley Street, Milpera, near Sydney. What was the suburb? Sorry? Milpera, that is Milperra. Right. Now, was the shipping agent Mr. Alexander? You mean the company we used? Yes, the company who packed everything up at the point of origin. Oh, it was a first mover, first class movers. Okay, where were the goods shipped from? China. But the ship came via Singapore and was there for about a week. Don't worry, all of that information will be in the documentation. Now, the dates. Do you know when the ship arrived? It left on 11th of October and got to Sydney on 28th of November. Okay, I need one more thing. There's a reference number. It should be in the top right corner of the pink form they gave you. Let me have a look. I have so many papers. Yes, here it is. It's 601ACK. Thanks. I need to take down a few details of the actual damage over the phone before you put in a full report. Can you tell me how many items were damaged and what the damage was? Yes. Well, four things actually. I'll start with the big things. My TV, first of all. It's a large one, very expensive. Our insurance doesn't cover electrical problems. It isn't an electrical problem. The screen has a huge crack in it, so it's unusable. I see. Any idea of the price to repair it? No. Well, I don't think it can be repaired. It will need a new one. Okay, I'll make a note of that and we will see what we can do. Now, what was the second item? The cabinet from the bathroom was damaged as well. It's a lovely cabinet. We use it to keep our towels in. And what is the extent of the damage? Well, the back and the sides seems okay, but the door has a huge hole in it. It can't be repaired. I am really not happy, very happy about it. And how much do you think it will cost to replace it? Well, when I bought it last year, I paid 125 bucks for it. But the one I've seen here in Sydney is a bit more expensive. It's 140. Right. And what was the third item? My dining room table. It's a lovely table from Indonesia. It must have been very hot inside the container because one leg has completely split down the middle. The top and the other three look okay, but thank goodness. Any idea of the price to repair? Well, I had an estimate done on this actually because it is very special table to us. They quoted us 200, which is really pricey. So I hope the insurance will cover the total cost. I'm sure that will be fine. What was the last item, Mr. Alexander? Well, we have a lovely set of china plates and dishes. You know, with matching cups, sauces, the lot. They were all in the one box, which must have got dropped because of some plates. Some plates were broken. Six actually. And can you tell me the replacement value on these? Well, it's hard to say because they were part of set, but they can be up to 10 each, or it's such a good set. Okay, so that will be around 60 altogether. Yes, that's right. And is that all of the item? Yes. So what do I have to do now? So you just heard the conversation between Judy and Michael, and this this I have already tried to extract the answers, but formally let us answer them. So name is Michael Alexander. Address is 24 Manley Street. This is actually he spelt it also Milpera. That is Milpera. The shipping agent were first class movers. First class movers. Place of origin China. Date of arrival was 28th November 28th of November. Reference number 601 ACK. Now coming to four items that they discussed. The first one was television, and there is a crack which needs to be replaced. The television needs to be replaced, so there is a crack, huge screen crack. Cost repair not known. The second one was the cabinet. So it was this fifth one was bathroom cabinet. So it is bathroom cabinet. Then we have a huge hole. The cabinet is damaged. Bulky. The and then the seventh one is the cost. That is 140 bucks. And then the third one was a dining room table. And in the eighth, it was said that the leg has completely split down. Leg is split, and the amount was 200. And then finally, it was set of china, and six plates were broken, and in all, it was assumed or approximated as 60 bucks in total. Now coming to section two, now we are going to answer 11 to 20. So this is an agricultural park. This is let us see the or hear what the content is. So I will read it for you, and while I read, I will try to answer them one by one. Try to answer, then we'll in the end we'll try to formally answer them. So let us hear. Welcome to Green Whale Agriculture Park. As you know, we have only been open a week, so you are amongst our first visitors. We have lots of fascinating indoor and outdoor exhibits on our huge complex, spreading hundreds of hectares. Our remit is to give educational opportunities to the wider public, as well as to offer research sites for a wide variety of agriculturists and other scientists. Let's start by seeing what there is to do. As you can see here on our giant wall plan, we are now situated in the reception block. The reception block. As you walk out of the main door into the park, there is a path you can follow. If you follow this route, you'll immediately come into the rare breeds section, where we keep a wide variety of animals, which I shall be telling you a little more about later. Next to this, moving east, is a large grazing area for the rare breeds. Then further east, in the last section of our park, is the forest area. South of the grazing area, and in fact just next to the reception block, is our experimental crops area. In the middle of the park, the circular area is our lake. These two small rectangular shape here, they are the fish farms, where we rear fish for sale. And to the east of those is the marsh area, which attracts a great many migrant birds. In the southeast corner beyond the marsh is our market garden area, growing vegetables and flowers. All these areas can be visited by the general public for almost all year. Although please take note of the large signs at the entrance of each area which tell you which certain areas are being used for particular controlled experiments are therefore temporarily out of bounds to the public. You can see for yourself what a huge area the park covers, and a key question is always how can we move around? Well, you have a choice of means, all environmentally friendly. Cars are banned in the park. We have bicycles, which you can hire behind the reception block here. The healthy ones of you can go on foot, and finally there's our electrical tram, powered from solar cells. You find more information about this at the front entrance. A good place to start on your tour is the rare breed section. We keep goats, sheep, and hens, and other kinds of poultry. We are also thinking of bringing cows and horses, but we do not as yet have facilities for these bigger animals. The animals are fed in public twice a day and a short lecture given on their feeding habits and nutritional needs. These are very popular with the public, but of course, we must not lose sight of the main purpose of having this section. Not as such to preserve a rare animal, but to maintain the diversity of breed to broaden the gene pool for agriculture development. Green whale changes with the seasons, with different events happening at different times of the year. May will be perhaps our most spectacular month, with the arrival of Canada geese and when our fruit trees will be in full blossom. But there are interesting events on all year round. For example, John Havers. John Havers, our expert fish or fly fisherman, is currently giving displays on the lake. Each of the sections has its own seasonal calendar. Please consult the summary board at the main entrance, and the final section, return to the reception block, is the orchard. Do take time to browse and round our shop. There's a wide selection of books on wildlife, some of them written by local authors, and the history of farming, including organic farming, something which the park will be diversifying into the coming months. So now we have just heard the content, and now we are going to answer these questions. The first one is the 11th one, means according to the speaker, the main purposes of the park are what was spoken. Uh, I'll read that sentence for you. Our remit is to give educational opportunities to the wider public as well as to offer research sites for a wide variety of agriculturists and other scientists. So they are talking about education, providing education, that is research and education. So this is the correct answer, B. Now 12 to 14, no more than two words. And first is this one, 12th. So this is the area of forest. So this is forest area. The 13th one is fish farm, FF. Then this one 14th is market garden area, right? And then 15, for the 15 we have to come here. So 15 it was, the question is when are the experimental areas closed to the public? So 15th, temporarily out of bounds for the public. So it was being said that which tell you which certain areas are being used for a particular control experiment and are therefore temporarily out of bounds to the public. So this is almost all the year. D is the correct answer. 16 is how can you move around the park? So for that it was given that bicycles and electric tram and walking. If you are fit enough, you can walk. So this is the correct option. 17 days, the rare breed animals kept in the public park include 17th. So the extract is we keep goats, sheep, and hens. So we have goats, sheep, and hens. This is what is suiting the best. 18 is what is the main purpose of having the rare breed section. 18 to maintain the diversity of breeds. So this is the correct answer. 19 is what can you see in the park at the present time? 19. This is our expert fly fisherman is currently giving displays on the lake. This was being said. So what can you see in the park at the present time? A demonstration of fishing by expert fly fishermen. 20 is the shop contains book about wildlife. That means wildlife is because the content was there is a wide selection of books on wildlife, some of them written by local authors, and history of farming, including organic farming. So this is about the wildlife which we can choose as because the thing which is given is books on wildlife. So we don't have much wildlife here, but we can choose A, the best or the closest one. Now coming to the section 3, this is honeybees in Australia. Now we have question from 21 to 30 here, means first lot of questions are given here. So let me read the content for you, and this is between the professor and Grant. Professor and Grant. So let me start. Professor says, good morning everyone. In today's seminar, Grant Freeman, a biologist who specializes in identifying insects and who works for the Australian Quality Service, have come to talk to us about his current research work. Right? Well, over to you, Grant. Good morning, everyone. I'm sure that you know that the quarantine service regulates all food brought into Australia? Well, obviously, they want to protect Australia from diseases that might come in with imported goods, but they also want to prevent insect pests from being introduced into the country. And that's where I have a part to play. Anyway, my current research involves trying to find a particular type of bee, the Asian honey bee, and finding out whether there are any of them around in various states of Australia. We discovered a few of them in Queensland once and eradicated them. Now we are pretty keen to make sure that there aren't any more getting in, particularly to New South Wales and other states. What's wrong with Asian honeybees? Are they so different from Australian bees? Well, in fact, they look almost the same, but they are infested with mites, microscopic creatures which live on them and which can seriously damage our own homegrown bees or could even wipe out them. Well, what would happen if Australian bees died out? Well, the honey from Australian bees is of excellent quality, much better than the stuff the Asian bees produce. In fact, Australia exports native queen bees to a large number of countries because of this. When the European honeybee was first discovered out in the bush, we found they made really unpleasant honey and they were also too big to pollinate many of our native flowers here in Australia. That must have had a devastating effect on the natural flora. Did you lose any species? No, we managed to get them under control before what happened, but if Asian bees got in there, could be other consequences. We could lose a lot of money because you might not be aware, but it's estimated that native bees' pollination of flower and vegetable crops is worth $1.2 billion a year. So in a way, they are a farmer's friend. Oh, and other things is if you're stung by an Asian honeybee, it can produce an allergic reaction in some people. So they are much more dangerous than native bees. How will you know if Asian bees have entered Australia? We are looking at the diet of the bird called the rainbow bee eater. The bee eater doesn't care what it eats as long as they are insects. But the interesting thing about this bird is that we are able to analyze exactly what it eats, and that's really helpful if we are looking for introduced insects. How come? Because insects have their skeletons outside their bodies, so the bee eaters digest the meat from the inside. Then they bring up all the indigestible bits of skeleton and, of course, the wings in a pan, a small ball of waste material which they cough up. That sounds a bit unpleasant, so how do you go about it? In the field, we track down the bee eaters and find their favorite feeding spots, the place where the birds usually feed. It's here that we can find the pellets. We collect them up and take them back to the laboratory. Laboratory, then to examine the contents. So, how do you do that? The pellets are really hard, especially if they have been out in the sun for a few days. First of all, we treat them by adding water to moisten them and make them softer. Then we pull them apart under the microscope. Everything's called scrunched up, but we're looking for wings, so we just pull them all out and straighten them. Then we identify them to see if we can find any Asian bee wings. And how many have you found? So far, our research shows that Asian bees have not entered Australia in any number. It's a good result and much more reliable than trying to find live ones as evidence of introduced insects. Well, that's fascinating. Thank you, Grant, for those insights. I hope that you might inspire some of our students here to conduct some similar experiments. So now we have just heard a conversation, and now we are going to answer these questions. So the first one is, where in Australia have Asian honeybees been found in the past? So the answer of this is Queensland, which I have already indicated. The answer is A. 22 is the problem with Asian honeybees is that the content was, but they are infested with mites. So they carry parasites. So this is the answer. B. What point is made about Australian bees? So this is 23. The point was made by Grant is, in fact, Australia exports native queen bees to a large number of countries because of this. So they are sold to customers abroad. This is the answer. 24 is Grant Freeman says that if Asian honeybees got into Australia, 24th. Then the content was we could lose a lot of money. So that's country economy would be affected. They could be used in study apologies. Certain areas of agriculture would benefit. The answer is A. Then one word only, looking for Asian honeybees. Birds called rainbow bee eaters eat only. Now, the content was the bee eater doesn't care what it eats as long as they are insects. So eat only insects. Insects. And cough up small bits of skeleton and other products in pellet. Researchers go to the location the bee eaters like to use for feeding spots. Feeding spots. They collect the pellets and take them to laboratory for analysis lab. Here dash, that is 28. Here water is used to soften them. Water used to soften them, and the researcher look for the wings of Asian bees in the pellet. The benefit of this research is that the result is more reliable than searching for live Asian bees. So now we are on to section 4. These are the questions, and questions are from 31 to 40. So these are in all, and I would strongly advise you to read them once, earlier to what the content is going to come. So let me read it for you, the content, and then we'll serially try to point the answers, what you have to extract. So let me read it for you. I have been doing some research into what people in Britain think of doctors, the ones who work in general practice, the first call of medical care, and comparing this with the situation in a couple of other countries. I want to take about the rationale behind what I decided to do. Now I had to set up my program of research in 3 different countries. So I approach postgraduates in my field in overseas department, contacting them by email to organize things for me at their end. I thought I would have trouble recruiting help, but in fact everyone was very willing, and sometimes their tutors got involved too. I had to give up my helpers clear instruction about what kind of sample population I wanted them to use. I decided that people under 18 should be excluded because most of them are students or looking for their first job. And also I decided that at this stage just to focus on men who were in employment, and set up something for people who didn't have jobs and for employed women later on as a separate investigation. I specifically wanted to do a questionnaire and interviews with focus group with the questionnaire rather than limiting it to one specific point. I wanted to include as much variety as possible. Now I know questionnaires are a very controlled way to do things, but I thought I could do taped interviews later on to counteract the effects of this, and the focus group may also prove useful in future. By targeting subjects I can easily return to, as the participants tend to be more involved. So I am just collating the results now. At the moment, it looks as if in the UK, despite the fact the newspaper continually report that people are unhappy with medical care, in fact it is mainly the third level of care which takes place in hospitals that they are worried about. Government reforms have been proposed at all levels, and although their success is not guaranteed, long-term hospital care is in fact probably less of an issue than the media would have us believe. However, I have still got quite a bit of data to look at. Certainly, I will need to do more far-reaching research than I had anticipated in order to establish if people want extra medical staff invested in the community or if they want care to revert to fewer but larger key medical units. The solution may well be something that can be easily implemented by those responsible in local government, with central government support of course. This first stage has proved very valuable though. I was surprised by how willing most of the subjects were to get involved in the project. I had expected some willingness to answer questions honestly, but I was taken aback and rather concerned that something I thought I would set up very well didn't necessarily seem that the way to everyone in my own department. Then I thought you might also be interested in some of the problems I encountered in collecting my data. There were odd cases that threw me. One of the subjects who I had approached while he was out shopping in town decided to pull out when it came to the second round. It was a shame as it was someone who I would like to have interviewed more closely. And one of the first year students I interviewed wanted reassurance that no names would be traceable from the answers. I was so surprised because they think nothing of telling you about themselves and their opinions in seminar groups. Then one of the people that I worked with got a bit funny. The questions were quite personal, and one minute he said he'll do it, and the next day he wouldn't. And in the end, he did do it. It's hard not to get angry in that situation, but I try to keep focused on the overall picture in order to stay calm. The most bizarre case was a telephone interview I did with a teacher at university in France. He answered all my questions in great detail. But then when I asked how much access he had to dangerous substances, he wouldn't tell me exactly what his work involved. It's a real eye opener. So now we have just heard the content, and now I've already indicated where we were when I was talking. So let us answer this. This woman is called Shona. So in order to set up her research program, Shona got the content was postgraduate in my field in overseas department. So advice from personal friends in other countries, help from students in other countries, information of her tutor contacts in other countries. So this is the answer. What type of people were included in the research? And for this, Shona has said, I decided at this stage just to focus on men who were in employment. So women or men who are working. So this is the answer. Then Shona says that in her questionnaire, her aim was, so in this Shona has said, I wanted to include as much variety as possible. So this is to get a wide range of data. 34 is what do Shona initial results show about medical services in Britain. 34. In this, she has said, in the UK, despite the fact that newspapers continually report that people are unhappy with medical care, in fact, it is mainly the third level of care which take place in hospitals that they are worried about. So this is the answer. Current concerns are misrepresented by the press. 35th is Shona needs to do further research in order to. 35. She said in order to establish if people want extra medical staff invested in the community or if they want care to revert to fewer but larger key medical units. So she was on to identifying the preferences of the public. So this is the answer. 36 is Shona has learned from the research project that, and in this content was, I have set up a very well didn't necessarily seem that way to everyone in my own department. So colleagues do not always agree. Now these are the statements. Which statement applies to each of the following people who were interviewed by Shona? So a person interviewed in the street, 37. He decided to pull out when it came to the second round. So for that, we will match it with. So this is B, decided to stop participating. And undergraduate at the university, this is 38, wanted reassurance that no names would be traceable from the answers. So was worried about confidentiality. So B, 37, 38 was F. Then 39 was a colleague in her department. So for that, she said 1 minute he said he'd do it, then the next day he wouldn't, and in the end he did do. So for that, D would be the best one. A tutor in foreign university. This is refused to tell Shona about their job. Yes. In this, the content was he wouldn't tell me exactly what his work involved. So we have just seen test 2 listening section of IELTS 8. Thank you so much. Take care.